Gin does games!
Hello ladies and gents, Gin here with another League of Legends Champion Guide. Today we're going to be discussing a fierce femme fatale, a lady from the deserts whose only desire is personal gain. This is Sivir, the battle mistress. She'll kill anyone you want if the price is right. Let's learn how to Sivir. Sivir is an AD marksman. Her attack range is short compared to most, but what she lacks in range she makes up for with speed, and lots of it. She brings to the table massive amounts of area damage, a team-wide speed boost, and the ability to ignore spells in a pinch, all while throwing around more boomerang blades than I knew was possible for one person to carry. She excels at pushing lanes and capitalizing on advantages like few others can. Sivir's passive is Fleet of Foot. She's faster than most marksmen to start, and this makes sure she can keep up with almost anyone in the league. Whenever she hits an enemy champion with an ability or a basic attack, Sivir gains a flat movement speed boost that increases with level for 2 seconds. If she hits them again, it refreshes the buff. At level 1, it gives her more than a pair of boots of speed. At level 18, it gives her almost the buff of boots of swiftness. This really helps with chasing down your enemies. Sivir's Q is Boomerang Blade. She hurls her massive crossblade in a direction of your choice, physically damaging all enemies in its path. Once it reaches the maximum range, it then returns to Sivir and deals its damage again. Each enemy beyond the first takes 10% reduced damage down to a minimum of 40%. It's great for clearing waves and dealing massive damage to single targets. In fact, if you hit only one target, and hit them twice, this is the single most powerful non-ultimate spell in the game. To counteract this, it is kind of expensive to cast, so in the early stages of the game, you should only use it when you know you can hit for massive damage. You should take a point in this early, either at level 2 or 3, and max it out first. For more bouncy crossblade madness, Sivir's W is Ricochet. Just as the name implies, Sivir likes to think she's Xena, warrior princess, and can hit everything with one chakram. On activation, her next 3 basic attacks will bounce to nearby enemies, dealing a percentage of her attack damage to all enemies beyond the first. This ability can hit any number of enemies, but they can only be hit once per attack. The attack against your first target will deal normal damage and apply on-hit effects and crits as normal, but the additional enemies hit will not. Ricochet is great for clearing out waves of minions, adding damage in teamfights, and poking your enemies when you couldn't otherwise. It even bounces off of turrets and inhibitors, letting you clear waves and poke while still attacking towers. Ricochet even resets your attack timer, letting you get in extra hits extra fast. It's a crazy cheap spell and has quite a short cooldown to boot. For all these reasons, we'll take a point in Ricochet at level 1, however, we'll max it out second, simply because the burst from Boomerang Blade is freaking insane. The Battle Mistress's E is Spell Shield. It does exactly what the name says. When activated, she creates a shield that lasts for 1.5 seconds that completely blocks the next enemy ability used on Sivir. The spell is free to cast and even restores mana if it successfully blocks an ability. The downside is it has quite a long cooldown, even at higher ranks. It does, however, help make up for her general lack of escape abilities. They want to engage on you? Spell Shield. Karthus ult incoming? Spell Shield. Want some free mana and you're in lane against a Teemo or a Caitlyn? Spell Shield and walk over their traps. Spell Shield is a really useful ability, so take a point at level 2 or 3, depending on how safe you need to be in lane, but max it out last, as increasing your damage is generally more important. Finally, for her ultimate, Sivir goes on the hunt. Her R has 2 parts to it. Passively, it gives her massive bonus attack speed while Ricochet is active. This combination makes Ricochet much more powerful in combat in general. When activated, Sivir rallies her allies for 8 seconds, granting all allies and herself a massive 60% move speed boost that reduces down to 20% after a few seconds. How long that speed takes to decay depends on the level of the spell. Sivir's ultimate is extremely powerful, great for engaging or disengaging teamfights, escaping should you get caught out of position, letting your allies escape similar situations, or generally rotating between objectives. Team just took a tower? Let's rush them all to the next one, or to the dragon. Take a point on the hunt every chance you can. For summoner spells, the Mistress generally prefers Barrier and Flash. The former allows a little more safety, should Spell Shield not do everything you need it to, and Flash to not only escape, but to secure kills as well. If the enemy has a massive amount of crowd control available to them, you might consider taking Cleanse. Lastly, if you're super confident in your skills and want to go for some early kills, take Ignite. For runes, take attack damage marks, flat armor seals, magic resistance per level glyphs, and some combination of attack damage and lifesteal quintessences. I use 2 lifesteal quints and 1 of attack damage. It depends on how much you want the assistance in last hitting from the extra AD, but the more lifesteal you have, the safer your laning phase will generally be. The others are fairly standard, with AD for better last hitting, and armor for a safer laning phase, and magic resistance for when mages from mid lane start ruining your fun. Do note that if the opposing team has a heavy AP support, such as Annie, you should consider using flat magic resistance glyphs instead. As for Masteries, take 2109, going all out for damage in the offense tree, while dipping into utility to get some bonus move speed, mana regen, and lifesteal. Rather than take attack speed in offense tree, you should consider taking cooldown reduction instead, as that stat is much harder to come by in items, while building for damage as any good marksman should. It helps to get off Sivir's powerful spells more often, especially when they often have such long cooldowns. As a marksman, your builds are generally fairly straightforward and easy, but there are a good number of nice synergies and options that we can talk about as well. To begin the game, usually Sivir will start with a Doran's Blade and a health potion. You might instead start with a longsword and more health potions if you think you need more burst sustain and want to get started on your other items early. The first big item you want to rush for is Bloodthirster. Not only is it a cheap, complete damage item, it gets stronger as you go and helps you stay sustained in lane too. Boots will become Berserker's Greaves when you can. There's no need to rush to the second stage though necessarily with all the free move speed she gets out of her kit. When you do upgrade, and eventually consider enchantments, you might go for either Führer or Captain's Boots, as they synergize with your passive and ultimate respectively. Next, if you're ahead, grab an Infinity Edge. None can deny the power of sword crits a lot. If you're lagging behind your enemies, chances are the tanks will be getting lots of armor and be tough to kill. Get Last Whisper instead. Either way, you'll want both. It just depends on which one you get first. After this, you'll want to get something with attack speed, as Sivir's base speed starts to lag behind most other carries at this point. Her attack reset from Ricochet and speed burst from On the Hunt help, but they don't make her perfect. For the greatest single target damage, get Phantom Dancer. If you want more early burst and wave clear, get Static Shiv instead. Lastly, in a standard build, you'll want a defensive item, and what you get here really depends on what the enemy team is doing. Guardian Angel is a good all-around pick. Banshee's Veil allows you to block 2 spells instead of just the one with your own shield. Just be sure to let the Veil block one first if it's up before activating your own. If both shields are up, whatever hits will pop both your bubbles. If you need a more offensive anti-mage option, pick up Mercurial Scimitar. Randuin's Omen is great versus heavy AD compositions if you're getting focused. And let's be honest here, you're the carry, of course you're getting focused. For other options, if you're having mana problems, you might consider picking up Amana Mune. Trinity Force, while very expensive, gives Sivir a lot of stats she really enjoys having. Consider this if you're far ahead and want to stay there. The Black Cleaver is quite good on Sivir, as with Boomerang Blade and Ricochet, she can spread the debuff very, very quickly. Consider trading your Last Whisper if your team has heavy on AD, or just get both. Blade of the Ruined King is your weapon of choice if the enemy is sporting some heavy health tanks like Dr. Mundo. If you're somehow having trouble keeping your enemies where you can kill them, a Frozen Mallet can give you some actual crowd control and plenty of lovely health. Finally, at the very end of the game, if you can afford it, trade in your boots for a Zephyr. It gives all the benefits of your boots and more, even giving you tenacity. I've mentioned previously that Boomerang Blade is quite mana intensive. As such, you should only use it in lane when you're absolutely certain you can hit the enemy champions, preferably only the enemy champion and with both swings. Wait for them to get stunned or for them to go in for a last hit to deal tons of damage to them. Ricochet is a simple ability, but there's a lot of finesse to it. When in a fight, be sure to use it right after a basic attack in order to reset the attack timer. This will basically let you get an extra attack in, and every hit counts. You can use it in lane to harass the enemy while still last hitting minions. And as I mentioned, it bounces off of towers, so you can hit the tower once and back off to watch them get hit as well. If they take to hiding in the bushes, place a ward in there. That way the blades can bounce there too. Spell Shield has a really long cooldown, so it's important to use it only when you need it most. Blocking a high damage spell isn't necessarily the thing that needs shielding. Take stock of who your enemies are. Is there a Tarek? You'll need to block his stun. Leona? Well, you'll want to block her stun, but not the Zenith Blade, as although the shield will block the damage, she'll travel towards you anyway. Blitzcrank? Block his grabs, obviously. If there are no immediate threats like that, you can use it, as I mentioned earlier, to sometimes get free mana, especially from Teemo or Caitlyn traps. Remember to use your ultimate wherever necessary, even if it's just to help an ally survive or just to get one kill. It's on quite a short cooldown at higher ranks, so there's no problem there. Kite melee champions with it, engage fights, disengage fights, and so on. It's like having a Talisman of Ascension on your team, but even stronger. Sivir is a speedy, high-damage monster. Land your boomerang blades and spread the love with Ricochet, and you will lead your team to victory. So thanks for watching, everyone. If you've enjoyed this guide, please let me know by hitting the like button. Speak up in the comments below if you have advice or questions. We're all here to learn. Subscribe for future content, including champion guides, gameplay guides, and other possibly not LOL content. Follow me on Twitch for streams and Twitter and Facebook to see what else is going on. Till next time, I've been Gin, and you've been watching me talk about a video game. Now that you know how to utilize Sivir, the only question left is how much will you pay her? Because as you know,
loyalty isn't earned, it's bought.